Good evening, class. My name is Alice Gateri. I want to talk about economic effects of COVID-19 pandemic in developing economies. When we talk about developing economies, as we all know, most African countries happen to fall in this category of developing countries. Developing countries are characterized by a few factors. That is, how well are resources distributed? How well is this economy able to sustain itself economically? And how well can it withstand internal and external forces without aids and without foreign interference? Most African countries fall in this category because their health sectors are not well funded, they're not well distributed. There's actually no sustainability in the health sector. The infrastructure development and distribution happens to also define an economy. And you find that 80% of the infrastructure in most African countries is not well defined, it's not well developed. There are very many other factors that define an economy, that is, whether it's a developing or whether it's a developed economy. Tonight, I want to talk about the East African market and specifically Kenya. Why do I want to talk about Kenya tonight? Kenya happens to be very dear to my heart because, as you all know, I relocated to the United States 2 years ago from Kenya, making 3/4 of my life have lived in Kenya. This has come with its fair share of challenges and its fair share of exposure in terms of culture, in terms of economy, in terms of challenges. Kenya happens to be the economic hub of East Africa. In the report issued by World Bank in the year 2019, Kenya was placed as number 62 in the world in terms of GDP. We recorded GDP of $99.629 billion. This has come with its fair share of challenges. This has been a gradual process to be able to acquire this kind of GDP. It's been a gradual process that has taken years to be able to get to that milestone. One of the challenges that this economy faces is poverty. You all realize that most African countries have 10 billionaires and 40 million people that live below $1. In this kind of an economy, anytime that we have external or internal shocks that just shake the economy a little bit, it is felt by 80% of the people in that economy. As we talk about Kenya tonight, I want to give you a small view of this economy. This is an economy that relies on tourism. This is an economy that relies on agriculture. This is an economy that relies on horticulture. In the last years, we have seen tourism give the economy 47% of the GDP. We've seen agriculture give the economy 34% of the GDP, and we've seen a fair share come from horticulture. We export a lot of coffee and tea to the European market and the United States market. We export a lot of flowers to the European market. We have also seen a very big and a tremendous increase in the tourism sector from the developed economies coming to the Kenyan market, coming to the East African hub. At this point in time, that the world is facing the pandemic that has hit the global market, that has hit every aspect of this economy. It has hit the Kenyan market 40 times more than it has hit the world. Why do I say this? We do not have any tourists that are traveling at this point in time, meaning the 47% that we realized as an economy from tourism has already been affected at this point in time. We do not have any flights to any point of the world, meaning our flowers and our horticultural products cannot travel to any market at this point in time. Our produces, that's the coffee, tea, the vegetables, the fruits that come from the Kenyan market to the European market. At this point in time, we have flight cancellations. They cannot travel. This has really affected the small-scale investors. At this point in time, the small-scale investors, they yield to 80% of the economy, and they contribute to the highest level of the GDP. In the recent years, the small-scale market has been very vulnerable to the external and the internal shocks. And this year is no exemption, where this pandemic has not only hit Kenya, but it has also hit the global market. Another issue that we are facing as a country at this point in time is the health sector. Many years, in the recent years, we have relied on the global market, we've relied on the United States, we've relied on the European market, and we've relied on aids from World Bank and IMF to be able to boost our health industry. At this point in time, when the pandemic has hit us so hard, our health sector has suffered tremendously. Initially, we could not be able to withstand it, and at this point in time, it makes it more worse because we have people getting diagnosed, but the hospital facilities are very minimal. What do I want to say? I want to say this pandemic has greatly hit and greatly affected the African market, the developing economy in the health sector. At this point in time, where the industrial market is underdeveloped in most African countries, in most developing economies, and specifically Kenya, we over-rely on China for cheap imports to be able to sustain the consumer market. At this point in time when no ships are docking at the ports, no flights that are getting to any country, we're having shortages in the small-scale businesses, in the small-scale investment market, giving a big shock to the economy. In a nutshell and in conclusion, this pandemic was unbudgeted. It was an external shock that has not only hit the Kenyan economy, but the global market. We are yet to realize and to see more impact that it's going to have in the foreseeable future, because this will take at least 5 to 10 years to recover and to be able to realize the GDP that we have realized over the last 5 years, because it's been on a gradual level, it's been on a 5% growth, it's been on a 5% increase, putting all other factors constant. Thank you.